In this story, two friends accidentally time travel 30 years into the future, finding themselves in a world they know nothing about. This sudden jump will change their lives completely because they are unaware of what the future holds. The big questions are, will they be able to go back to their real time? And how deeply will this time travel impact their lives? In the latest time travel movie, the story kicks off in 1986, focusing on two friends named Harris and Reeves. They regularly skip their college classes to hang out and smoke together. These two buddies have a reputation for being carefree and never taking life too seriously. Their favorite spot is a secret hideaway where they indulge in some special bottle of intoxicating substance, a secret known only to them. Today, the two friends plan to attend a concert by a famous singer for which they have passes and plan to indulge in some intoxication. On their way, Harris stops by Reeves's place to pick up his girlfriend Debbie. However, they run into a snag when Debbie's father is home and asks Harris about his plans for the future. Harris and Reeves, caught off guard, make up an excuse, claiming they're still in college and haven't thought much about the future. But Debbie's father sees through their lie, knowing they never attend college. To cover up, they mention a business idea they've been kicking around, opening coffee shops with franchises on every street corner. However, Debbie's father is not impressed and finds their idea ridiculous. He questions why anyone would buy coffee from outside when they can easily make it at home. Convinced that Harris and Reeves are intoxicated, he refuses to let Debbie go anywhere with them and promptly kicks them out of the house. While on their way to the concert, Debbie hands Harris a toy from the balcony and apologizes for not being able to join them. This puts both Harris and Reeves in a bad mood, especially since they had already finished their intoxicating substances. Feeling down, they decide to visit a new dealer to get some more. The dealer informs them that the police have been raiding their place frequently, leaving them with only a few packets of their product. These remaining packets are strange as they've undergone some experimental changes. Despite this, Harris and Reeves don't think much of it and, as usual, carelessly purchase the experimental substance. They head off to the concert in their van, but it's already dark and they end up getting stuck in a pit on the way. This means they won't make it to the concert. Stranded in the van, they decide to try out the experimental substance they bought. Surprisingly, it turns out to be better than they expected, leading them on an unexpected adventure. After consuming the strong substance, Harris and Reeves fall asleep in the van. When they wake up in the morning and step out, they're shocked to find that their physical appearances have completely changed. They're no longer teenagers, but middle-aged men. At first, they think it might be the result of a heavy hangover, causing hallucinations. Their van is still broken down, so they decide to head into the city on foot. As they walk, they notice everything seems different. Stores have automatic doors, and everyone seems engrossed in their work. They're bewildered by the sight of smartphones, not knowing what they are. To them, it seems like everyone is busy using calculators for some strange reason. The world they once knew has transformed completely, leaving them feeling disoriented and out of place. Still feeling the effects of their hangover, Harris and Reeves head to the bathroom to freshen up. They're puzzled by the automatic flush toilets, which seem out of place. Harris rushes outside and grabs a newspaper. To his surprise, the date reads 2016. Both friends are baffled, wondering how they ended up 30 years into the future. As they explore further, they notice significant changes. They witness a same-sex marriage ceremony, notice skyrocketing oil prices, and see new electronic vehicles on the streets. People are talking to each other through video calls, something completely unfamiliar to them. Harris realizes that their experimentation with the substance from the night before might have caused them to accidentally time travel to 2016. This sudden realization explains why they feel much older than they did the previous day. Now they must figure out how to navigate this unfamiliar future they've found themselves in. Harris rushes to Reeves, showing him the newspaper and revealing the unbelievable truth. He began explaining their extraordinary time travel, but Reeves found it hard to believe. When Harris mentioned that a black man, Barack Obama, was now the president of the United States, Reeves was stunned. It all seemed too incredible. However, their encounter with another man in the same restroom confirmed their suspicions. The man expressed his hope for a world with less racism and affirmed that it was indeed the year 2016. Finally, the truth hit Reeves, and they were both terrified. They rushed to their van and drove off towards their homes, only to find that new buildings had replaced their old ones, and they had lost contact with their families. Desperate for familiar faces, Harris decided to visit his old girlfriend, Debbie. But when he arrived, she had grown up, and the sight of them after so many years startled her. Harris and Reeves realized that their disappearance had likely caused a lot of pain and confusion for their loved ones. Debbie listened intently as Harris and Reeves recounted their bizarre experience, explaining how they had purchased the intoxicating substance from a new dealer on the night of a concert. They shared their belief that experiments had been conducted on them, resulting in their sudden time travel. Debbie revealed the impact of their disappearance, explaining that the police had searched for them tirelessly for years before closing the case a decade later. Their families, assuming they were either dead or had left the country, eventually moved away, and over time, people lost interest in their story, assuming they had simply been intoxicated. As the conversation shifted, Harris inquired about Debbie's life, and she shared her own struggles, including the loss of her father and a difficult marriage that had ended. Hearing her story, both Harris and Reeves felt a sense of worry and disbelief at how drastically their lives had changed in just one night. Seeking a moment of peace, they made their way towards their old van, a familiar refuge. Before parting ways, Harris returned a toy that Debbie had given him 30 years ago, though Harris had only possessed it for one day. In that single day, everything had changed irrevocably. The next morning, Debbie kindly offered Harris and Reeves the opportunity to freshen up at her house, suggesting they could take a bath and relax. The previous night, Reeves had noticed a roller skate at Debbie's home and curiously inquired about its purpose and owner. Debbie explained that it belonged to her son, which prompted Harris to ask if he was their child. Debbie clarified that it couldn't be Harris's son since he had been missing for 30 years, and a 15-year-old child couldn't be his. She shared that her husband had left her, making her a single mother who worked hard every day to provide for her family. Debbie's life had taken a different path than Harris remembered, and it was clear that she had gone through significant changes. After Debbie left for work, Harris and Reeves headed to her house to groom themselves and discuss their next steps. They attempted to locate the dealer who had provided them with the experimental product, but their efforts proved futile. Facing the reality of their situation, they came to the difficult realization that their lost 30 years may never be recovered. As Harris and Reeves discussed starting their coffee business, they realized that the prices of coffee have increased due to inflation, posing a challenge to their plans. However, they remain determined to make it work. Their conversation is interrupted when Debbie's son, Brad, arrives. They strike up a conversation, and Brad reveals that he too indulges in substances secretly obtained from his mother. Excited by the prospect, Harris and Reeves ask Brad for the dealer's address so they can acquire their own supply. To their surprise, Brad informs them that there's no need for a dealer anymore. The government has legalized the substance, and it's available at any medical store with a doctor's prescription. Reeves wastes no time and visits a doctor, fabricating symptoms of insomnia and anxiety attacks to obtain the necessary prescription. With the prescription in hand, they head to a nearby pharmacy where Brad is waiting for them. After leaving the pharmacy, Harris and Reeves notice Brad drinking coffee, sparking their frustration. They realize that large coffee chains like Starbucks and CCD have proliferated worldwide, selling coffee at exorbitant prices. Angered by the fact that their idea from 30 years ago was now a global phenomenon, they reflect on how Debbie's father stole their idea and launched his own business. Determined to find success, they brainstorm a new idea, opening a restaurant called Chili Pot, where they'll infuse chili with the legalized substance, making it addictive. Confident in their plan, they head to the bank to secure a loan. However, their optimism quickly fades when every bank rejects their loan application. Perplexed, Harris and Reeves argue that their business idea is legal now, but the bank managers dismiss their pleas, emphasizing that legality doesn't equate to suitability for public consumption. Faced with rejection from nearby banks, Harris and Reeves resort to deception, claiming they're opening a simple chili restaurant to secure a loan. One bank manager finally agrees, but they need rental papers for the restaurant space. They return home and confide in Debbie about their plight, revealing how her father seemingly stole their coffee idea to open Starbucks. To their surprise, Debbie denies any involvement from her father in Starbucks and shares her struggles to support her son's education. Realizing they need funds to secure the rental space, Harris and Reeves set out to find a suitable location. However, they discover that renting a shop requires a hefty sum they don't have. In a desperate move, they decide to sell their van to raise the necessary funds. With the rental paper secured, they hope this sacrifice will pave the way for their entrepreneurial journey. Harris and Reeves return to Debbie's home, eager to share their good news with her. Debbie expressed her dreams for her son Brad and how she had been working tirelessly for years to ensure he received a good education and became successful. However, what Debbie didn't know was that Brad had been keeping secrets of his own, including getting intoxicated with Harrison Reeves. As this realization sank in, they began to feel guilty about their actions, knowing they were not being truthful with Debbie. Despite their concerns, they kept the truth hidden, fearing that she might ask them to leave, as they had nowhere else to go. Their problems only escalated from there. The next day, the manager who had promised them a loan delivered some devastating news. Due to their absence for the last 30 years, they had no credit score, no bank accounts, and no assets to their names. They had sold everything they owned to secure a shop, but now they desperately needed money to purchase equipment and get their business off the ground. After sharing their financial troubles with Debbie, she offered a potential solution. She knew a bank manager and was willing to guarantee a loan for them. However, she asked them to promise that they wouldn't do anything dishonest, as it could get her into trouble. Initially, Harrison Reeves agreed, assuring Debbie that everything would be fine. But once she left, they discussed their plan to add substances to the chili pot, worried that Debbie might disapprove. After all, she was their only supporter so far, and they had already been smoking with her son Brad. They didn't want to betray her trust any further. Harris, feeling a sense of obligation and connection to Debbie, rushed to her room with the intention of confessing their true plans and asking her to forget about the loan. However, upon entering her room, he found Debbie in a different mood, and their relationship took an unexpected turn as they enjoyed. In the heat of the moment, Harris forgot to disclose the truth about their business scheme. As Harris wakes up the next morning, he realizes that Debbie had already left early to meet her friend. Regretfully, he acknowledges that he missed his chance to tell her the truth about their plan. Before they know it, Debbie has arranged a meeting with her bank manager, and they find themselves presenting their concept for Chili Pot to the bank team. However, things take a turn for the worse when the bank team learns about their intention to add substances to the chili pot. With their secret exposed, they are denied the loan they desperately needed. Debbie is devastated and feels betrayed by Harris's deception. Learning that her son Brad has also been smoking with them adds to her distress. She angrily accuses Harris of cheating her and declares that she never wants to see them again. Harris and Reeves are consumed with guilt and remorse for their actions, realizing the harm they've caused to Debbie and her son. With no place to live and limited funds, Harris and Reeves retreated to their childhood's secret hideout, a place known only to them. As they sat there feeling dejected, Harris's eyes landed on something that brought him joy, plants that he had unintentionally grown. Since childhood, Harris had a habit of hiding in that spot to get high, and he would often throw seeds around. Over the years, those seeds had taken root and flourished. Now they had an abundance of substances, eliminating the need for a loan. Seizing the opportunity, they decided to open a restaurant at that very location. Their fortunes were about to change, and they were on the path to becoming rich. Meanwhile, Debbie approached Harris, sharing a conversation she had with her son Brad. Brad had confessed his past struggles with bad addiction, which began even before Harris and Reeves reappeared in their lives. However, he promised Debbie that he would turn his life around and focus on his studies. This revelation brought Harris and Debbie closer once again. The real surprise unfolds when the dealer from 30 years ago appears, revealing that she has spent the past 3 decades searching for Harris and Reeves. She explains that there was a flaw in the substance they consumed that day, and she has been hiding the only remaining material containing its antidote. With this antidote, they can return to 1986. Now armed with knowledge of the future, including the rise of chains like Starbucks and CCD, they realize the potential to become wealthy by implementing these ideas in 1986. However, they face a dilemma. If they return to the past, Harris will marry Debbie and Brad will cease to exist. In a heartwarming resolution, they decide to give Brad the antidote as well and bring him with them to the past. With this decision, they ensure Brad's existence while also preserving their chance to change their past and secure their future wealth. And so, with a happy ending, the story concludes. Thanks for tuning in, guys.